and Faye both learned how to wrench on Volkswagens, so it's only appropriate to bring in Faye's 1980 Rabbit for her to learn a little fabrication. The driver and passenger floor pans are rotted out, so the girls can cut out the old floor and weld in new ones.
We're gonna get crafty.
So, yeah.
Amazing.
Sparks are gonna fly today on All Girls Garage.
Gotta love Volkswagens.
Yeah, might love Volkswagens a little bit too much.
Maybe a little
guys,
bit.
Welcome to
What's going on?
this amazing episode of All Girls Garage. This is going to be a pretty personal one for both of us. Not just for me, because we happen to be sitting in my 1980 Volkswagen Rabbit right now, driving down the street. Heck yeah. But also, this is the first car that I really turned a wrench on and really became a mechanic on this car. And that's a really similar part of both of our stories, which is kind of they're kind of built like tin cans. So I'm sure that this is very similar on your Beetle, but the floor pan, actually the entire thing is made out of very, very thin sheet metal. Yeah, I'm not sure if you can see right down there by your feet.
Yes,
but
I see daylight through the floor.
Yes, both you and I can see, you're right, daylight through the floor.
It's not as bad as my old floor pans. Okay, so new floors, or at least fix the holes.
Yep.
And then new jack points.
Yep.
Is that our main task?
That is the main task.
Awesome.
There's really no one else that I would trust so much to help me work on this car than you, so this is perfect.
Thanks.
So, oh my gosh, absolutely. Well, with that being said, we should probably head back to the shop.
Yes. You know, Faye, I have to say, for 400 some odd thousand miles, and the way you set it up in the drive, this is actually not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
No, this is true. I'm sure there are a lot of rust belters right now that are pretty angry at me for claiming this to be
bad.
But, whoa!
Well,
okay.
There's some.
But you've been doing a lot of metal work recently, and so that's why I wanted to bring the car here, because I really wanted your help, not just your tools, but also your counsel for, I don't know, because you had a lot of experience lately with your builds.
Happy to do it. I'm excited. This is going to be fun.
Heck yeah. All right, so let's look at the floor pans that I got and see what's usable from them.
All right, sounds good.
All right, so I might have gone a little overkill on ordering these amazing floor pan halves, but I didn't really know how much I was going to need until we sort of got in there.
Well, and I like having the whole thing like this. Obviously, we're not going to use all of this. Sometimes I think that's a kind of a misnomer that people get a replacement patch panel for something and they get maybe a door skin and it comes with the whole thing. And so they think that they have to replace the whole thing. We do not need to replace the whole thing. We can use whatever parts and pieces of this that we want. And in fact, the less we use, the better. But what's nice in having all of it, rather than trying to just do this out of scrap metal, is that we have all of the factory shapes. And so we can match it up perfectly and splice whatever section we need to.
Exactly. And that's something I was sort of learning recently, was that if you were to cut the whole thing out, especially on a car that's unibody like this, the car can flex.
Absolutely.
Just the heat of cutting things, and it can mess up the geometry, and we don't want that. So we want to technically use as little of this as possible, right?
But what's nice about this one is that it actually comes out to where the pinch weld is. So this will actually attach to our pinch weld and reinforce one of those problem areas that we have.
We're going to get crafty.
So,
Amazing.
Well, that's all it is. It's, metalwork is
arts and crafts.
Is industrial adult arts and crafts.
This is an arts and craft show, people.
It is. We weld instead of glue. We use a plasma cutter instead of scissors. I mean, it's arts and crafts.
And then, of course, these as well, which currently the lift arms are on.
Yes.
Because where the heck else do you lift this car from?
They definitely need this.
Yeah. So super stoked on these as well. So
let's go ahead and get the car down, get seats out, get that sound deadening out, and we can start assessing just how bad it is.
Sound deadening. Yeah, I should have brought dry ice.
Nah, it's all right. We'll get it.
Whoops.
Take care not to damage your beautiful door panel here.
Oh boy, what do we have underneath here? Ooh, more trash. Oh boy.
All right, we got the seats and the center console out, and you can see the lovely custom seat tracks that Faye made many, many moons ago, because those seats are actually not out of a Volkswagen Rabbit. They are from a Honda, I believe she said. But now I'm going to turn my attention to getting some of this heat insulation out so that we can assess how bad the rust is. So this stuff is sometimes difficult to remove. You can use a little heat gun. Faye's used dry ice before. I've not tried that approach, so that would be interesting to see. But we'll just get this peeled back and out of the way. And what we're looking for, and obviously we've got really bad rust here, right? That has to be replaced. But how far back does this cancer go? And where do we need to cut back to? Like, clearly, this is all pretty jacked up right here. I'm going to try to peel back some of this undercoating, too, and see, if it's coming up that easy. Odds are there's been moisture underneath it, and that's a sign that there's probably rust further back. But we're real solid right there. That's good. Oh, there we go. That crunching's not a good sound. Yeah, as I pull this back, Faye, you can see, it's just pulling pieces of floor with it. The rust is a lot worse than I expected. We've really got quite a bit under here that's pretty gross.
Yeah, no.
If you can tear the metal apart with your own fingers, it's generally not a good sign.
Not good at all. And we're also sort of seeing, the sort of fabricator and a builder that I was about 11 years ago. You can see that I put this sound deadening material over the factory sound deadening, which is locked in a ton of moisture.
And probably over a bunch of rust that was already there.
Oh,
right.
I guarantee it.
But hey, if you don't look back at the stuff that you did 10, 12 years ago and are a little bit embarrassed, that means that you're not learning anything new. So this is good. Look how far we've come.
Oh, yeah. I've improved quite a lot.
Yes. So it's not good here, right? But it's nice and solid over here. But then it's not good over here. And it doesn't make sense to do lots of little patches, so we're probably going to wind up replacing just most of this front quarter.
The girls have a game plan on how much of the floor they want to cut out, but once they start using the grinding tools, they'll have a better idea on what's good metal and what is not.
It is never a good day when we discover a fresh, new puddle of fluid underneath our ride, especially when we're short on the time or the cash to replace that leaking part. Need to get to work ASAP? Well, thankfully, there's iron-tight all-weather seal, the quick solution that's been trusted by industry professionals for over 50 years. Its chemical bonding formula can stop leaks in minutes and can be used in all types of engines. It stops all sorts of leaks from intake, head gasket, heater cores, and radiators. It will fix your leak now and in the future. Now, if you want to take it to the next level and want to flush that radiator before you seal, they have another great product, Thoro Flush. It's the strongest radiator flush on the market today. Welcome back to All Girls Garage. In case you missed it, you should not have. You should go back and rewind it, start from the beginning. We are working on my 1980 Volkswagen Rabbit, and really sort of discovering what a rust bucket this poor thing actually is.
I've seen worse, Faye.
Okay.
I've seen worse. It is not horrendous, and it is nothing we can't fix. And obviously, this is a really time-consuming process.
Right.
We've been removing the heat shielding, both the stuff Faye put on after the fact, as well as the factory stuff, and kind of figuring out where our rust is really bad and needs to be replaced, and where it can get cleaned up or neutralized. So we've got a bunch of it off. We've vacuumed it out. We've got some more work to do. I want to chisel some more of this stuff out of here. But wanted to introduce you to one of my favorite tools, the Rabbit Strip Disc. So these guys are really awesome for what?
It sounded like you said rabbit strip disc, which it totally is.
It is stripping the rabbit.
Yes.
But it is a rapid strip disc that we'll use on the rabbit.
Perfect.
So the Rapid Strip Disc is really good for removing lots of material without removing any of the metal, right? Whenever you're doing any welding projects, the last thing you want to do is take away parent material, right? The original metal that you're working with, because the more of that we take away, the more we compromise any future repairs. So we don't want to take away that, but we do want to take away surface rust. We want to take away any of the gunk that's remaining of the sound deadening material. These are great for using on body filler, paint, all that stuff to get everything off before you start working with it again and without compromising that parent material. Okay, Faye, so we have some choices to make.
I like choices.
All right, first of all, there's no like one set right way to do this, right? There's like lots of different ways we can go about it. We kind of have to assess all of the things. Officially, now that we've peeled everything back, I think the bulk of our issue is right in this corner, right?
On that side.
All of this is deformed all the way back here, though, even though there's no rust. If we're cutting back this far, we might as well cut back this far.
All right,
okay? Have it overlap right here. Have it overlap here. Utilize the pinch weld on the outside edge.
Yep. And this structural part right here, which is going to be holding the shape. So we're going to have to cut this out, though, in order to get there.
Get it out of our way. And then we'll just make our cuts about a half an inch inside all of our perimeters that we're talking about.
Right.
That'll give us a little bit to work with, a little fudge room. And then we can grind it back to exactly where we want to have it sit nicely.
Oh, love it. All right, cool.
Boom. All right, go grab a cutoff wheel.
Sounds good.
Ding. So now we get into our cross section. There we go. Really? There's always one corner that doesn't want to let go. There we go. All right, so now we're going to be underneath the car for a little bit. It's all about drilling spot welds and separating metal. So we've got the remnants of that reinforcement piece that we're replacing. We got this half of it and this little bit of it here, which is going to require that we pull that control arm down to get at it. I'll show you on this side first. Easiest thing to do is just clean things up with that rapid strip disc and see if you can locate where your spot welds are. And then you got a couple of options. You can use this cool little spot weld driller, right? You put a little pilot hole, and then this is going to center and kind of be spring-loaded. That's going to allow us to just drill out the whole spot weld. If you don't have one of these, just grind it off. Just be careful to grind just the top layer. And then I'm going to go after it with the panel separator, just kind of going in between. It helps if you grind those to be real sharp. And then just hammer it as we go. We might find more spot welds that were hidden. We'll just work our way off of that. And then lather, rinse, repeat up here. Just the 4 little spot welds.
Oh, sweet.
Bogey and Faye are finding hidden rust everywhere on this Volkswagen floor. And now they can start to cut it out. Next, they'll start modifying the new floor piece so they can weld it into place.
You know that rattling sound that your car makes when you first start it up? Well, most engine wear occurs during dry start, before your valve train receives lubrication, which can be exacerbated by the cartridge-style oil filters. Well, thankfully, Baxter Performance provides the perfect solution to increase the longevity of your engine with their cartridge-to-remote oil filter adapters. Not only do they allow for convenient oil filter relocation, addition of a cooler, or increased oil capacity, but their design also features greater oil retention in the engine, providing rapid oil pressure at startup. These billet aluminum adapters are easy to install and easy to service, with the top mount style featuring a Schrader valve for oil evacuation back to the sump for complete oil changes. While Bogey's over there tackling the massive amount of spot welds on my car, I'm going to be cutting this floor pan into a much more manageable section. Obviously, we started out with this whole thing, which is like, isn't it cool that this is actually offered for sale? I mean, I could pretty much replace this entire car piece by piece. Excellent. But this is all that we're actually going to be replacing today. And obviously, you can see why. So I'm just going to be cutting this, obviously way larger than I need, because it's always easier to take more off than add some back on. So it looks like matching those is going to be right about there.
You're gonna cut yourself. Somebody's gonna lose a finger.
Yep.
So what we're doing right now is we have our panel fit in there, trimmed down, and kind of hammered into place a little bit. We went ahead and tightened the pinch weld gap so that sits nice and snug, and got it folded over a little bit to give us a head start on getting it nice and pinched around it. And Faye's drilling a couple of holes, and we are using plecos to hold everything in place while we tack weld it so nothing shifts or moves. If you're not familiar with what a pleco is, this is like the coolest invention ever. It's used a lot in fabrication. You can really fabricate an entire vehicle and hold it all together with plecos before you even start welding a thing. And basically, it's like a temporary rivet. So you've got this cool little tool. It sits right there. And what you can see is that when you squeeze on it, it extends this portion of it, right? You put that down through the hole of your sheet metal, and then when you release it, it widens up and grabs hold to the two sheets of metal really tightly. So it holds everything in place. You don't have to worry about it shifting or moving. We know that we weld, we add heat, things want to move, things want to shift. And when you're fabricating like full panels, you really want to hold things in place while you're working on the next things. So these are absolutely amazing. Best invention ever. Really inexpensive too. Totally worth picking up some. So as she drills those holes, I'm going to get these plecos fit in to hold in place. Then we'll tack weld the whole thing. Awesome. Okay.
So if you've followed any of my previous fabrication projects before, then you happen to know that I am a huge fan of both of these products. Here I've got some muriatic acid. It's in a different container, obviously, because I have reduced it with a little bit of water, and then I've also got some OSPO. So both of these are going to be really helpful in this project. First of all, you may have noticed we mentioned that we're going to be welding on this, and this is a galvanized material. Galvanization is actually like an impregnation of the metal, and when you add extreme heat to it, like, welding, that can off-gas and make you very, very, very sick. So you want to make sure that any galvanization is cleaned off for your personal health before you go ahead and weld. So I'm going to be doing this. See, I've got my safety glasses on. It can also burn the eyes. I've got my gloves, and I will be doing this with a respirator outside of the shop. And brushing it on with this. It's actually kind of cool. You brush it on and then it sort of like off gases and it just gets all misty and smoky. It's kind of cool.
See how it's only bubbling over here and it's not bubbling there? That part's done and that part is not.
Faye has the metal cleaned up and ready to weld. And it's almost time for the girls to weld in the new floor pan and cut out the old metal on the driver's side panel too.
Sure, you can search for parts on the internet, but sometimes it's really nice to have an actual parts catalog in your hot little hands as you search for the perfect part for your classic car restoration. These free full-color catalogs from Classic Parts of America are a great resource to have out in the shop where you may not want to have your laptop or may not have cell service, or you just want to thumb through as you dream up your goals or plans for your classic. And with their huge inventory of parts for your Chevy truck, Nova, Camaro, or Chevelle, you definitely want one of these in your hands. Make sure you head over to Classic Parts of America and get yours delivered free to your door. Welcome back, guys. We are in the final stretch, finally, of getting this patch done. This stuff takes time, guys. It really does. We've accelerated tremendously for TV. Faye is working on getting our galvanized patch panel cleaned up with the muriatic acid, and I've gone ahead and gotten all of this prepped. We had it rust treated, and then I've coated it just with weld-through primer. It's always a good idea to use this stuff, especially when you have metal against metal layered like we're doing because we're setting it on top. There's an area of metal that's going to get unprotected no matter how well you seam seal it. You've got metal that's exposed. So weld-through primer is just going to make sure it's protected. Then we'll be able to go ahead and tack weld all of this into place, get it all seam sealed and watertight.
There we go.
Taking a quick little break here to get you guys caught up. This is a slow process, guys, so we're not going to bore you with all of it. But look at this. We have both holes are filled.
Yup. And you can see on this side, we went a little bit higher up in here, just, to sort of combat some of that rust.
Yes.
So, I don't know. So far, I think this has been a really good example of, why restoration projects and undertakings are really, they take so log. And why you really have to be careful about like letting any sort of rust accrue in your vehicle for sure. Especially you Northerners.
100%. And once it
Yep.
starts, it doesn't stop until you cut it out. And
Yep.
and I think this is also a really great example of like there's 100 different ways to do a restoration, right?
true.
Obviously, this is not a full restoration. That's not your goal on this
She's
car.
all Roddy. She's
Right.
a rabbit.
That's okay.
Roddy.
You know, the goal of this was to just make it so that it wasn't going to rust through the point where she could stick her legs out, the holes in the floor, and to keep her alive as long as possible. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's all about meeting the goals of the owner of the vehicle. In this case, I think we've done that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so far, like, I definitely do not want her to ever get to the point where, like, she's so pretty that I'm afraid to drive her because I hope to daily drive this car until the day that I
Absolutely.
die. So,
I love it. So, our next steps.
yes. So this one, we are going to do a little lather, rinse, repeat. We're going to get our holes drilled, our clecos installed, and get it sort of tacked in. And then I think we're going to clean everything up, clean our welds up a little bit. I mean, no one's going to ever see these. I'm going to be putting some sound deadening material over it, and then there will be a carpet in here. So, you know, this is not like sort of the stuff that you do. That's like exterior metalworking. This is interior. So we'll clean it up a little bit, get some seam sealer on there.
Yep, seam sealer
And then
on
paint.
both sides. There's a couple of little extraneous rust holes that we didn't like bring our patch up to that we're gonna fill.
Yeah.
But really, we've had really good progress on this. I'm really pleased with it. It's looking good. Coming in on the home stretch here, everything is fully welded in, and now I'm just prepping to seam seal. And I know, Faye, this is going under sound deadening. It's going under carpet.
Yeah.
But I still like to make it pretty. So I'm creating little highways for the seam sealer with tape just to make it nice and neat. We can emulate a factory seam seal if we want to. We can get fancy. We can just use our little acid brush to spread it. We can get fancy and create some texture with some Scotch pad. Whatever makes your heart happy, but this will be nice and neat. We're going to seam seal on the underside too, so don't worry. This is going to be fully watertight by the time we're done.
And it's also going to be probably the prettiest part of the entire car. I've never done seam sealer this way. I normally just, you know, do it with my my fingers. So
At least it'll be a little quieter and a little bit drier in case it rains.
that is very true. All right, well,
All right.
thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.
See you later.